Hey everyone, I'm Samek Agarkar and welcome to AgarkarMedia Academy. This is the 35th video in Blender tutorial series for beginners. So in the last two tutorials, we have seen smoke simulation, fire simulation and water simulation, fluid simulation. So for the next two tutorials, we are going to look at cloth simulation and some other things that we have missed out when we were using the two simulations that we have already studied. So there are basically some fields or force fields that we can apply inside of Blender to give some different kinds of forces to our renders or simulations, to our physics simulations. We haven't used them as I've discussed in the last tutorial that using those fields and everything inside of one project for me is not possible. When we were using fluid simulation and smoke simulation, it was not possible because my laptop cannot handle so much of work at a time. Okay, but in when doing cloth simulation, my laptop can handle because the amount of vertices for the cloth is not that high. So we are going to look at what those different things are which we can use inside of Blender for physics simulation to just enhance the looks and get some different effect. Okay, so let's get to the show. Have you watched Gary Vaynerchuk? There was time when India K and Gary Vaynerchuk used to do let's get it into the show thing, and that was really cool. If you haven't watched, then sorry for the bad reference. Okay. Anyways, we are here inside of Blender now. To get a, a cloth, basically, first of all, we are going to just delete as usual our default cube. We don't want a default cube. Now, a cloth is basically a plane. Okay, so plane. We are going to just add mesh plane and just grab it upwards. Okay, right like this. Okay, now how many vertices does this plane have? 1 2 3 4. You can see it right here. Verts equals to 4, so basically 4 vertices. How many faces? One face. Now our cloth simulation basically works on faces. Okay, faces and vertices. So basically we need some amount of data to work with. So what we are going to use, we are basically going to subdivide the cube. So just go to the edit mode. To go into the edit mode, either you can click here and go to edit mode, or you can loop between the object mode and edit mode by using tab to edit mode, tab to object mode. Okay, tab to edit mode, and we are just going to left, yeah, right click, and we are just going to subdivide. Okay, and we are going to give it subdivisions of, let's say, uh, 20, because I think 20 would do. Okay, cool. So there's a lot amount of data to play with, and this would be more than enough for our cloth simulation. Okay, now let's get out of the object edit mode. We are again at the object mode. Let's select the plane, or basically a cloth. Let's go to the physics panel, because every physics simulation is inside of physics panel. So here physics panel, and we want a cloth simulation. So as soon as I put cloth there, the cloth simulation has been added. That's it, nothing to do. That's it, end the video, bye bye. No, there are a few settings of course which we can use, but let's first just play it and let's see how it looks like. Okay, so let's play the animation. You can see the cloth now falls. Now the cloth falls, but it doesn't look like cloth. Is it just falling, or is it really a cloth? Okay, so what we can usually do is basically make it fall on the ground so that we can understand if and how the cloth is working. Okay, so for that we are just going to add a mesh. Let's add uh, uh, um, let's add a UV sphere, because okay, the cloth will fall on the UV sphere and just bend around so that we can understand it's a cloth. We are just going to give it some color, at least inside of our um, so here in the base color we are just going to give it some bluish color, and also um, in the viewport display here also we are just going to give it some color so that you can distinguish between which is the object and which is the plane. Now again, let's go to the first frame and play, and now pam pam pam, again. Pam, pam, pam. Now, as you can see, the cloth is not falling on the mesh, but it is just going through the mesh. Now, that's because one of the uh, properties for the cloth simulation to handle is not there, which is something called as a collision. Collision, basically two things colliding. So, to make the collisions happen, the object on which the cloth is going to collide should be of type collision. Okay, so one more simulation, physics simulation right here. Just select the collision object, the UV sphere, and in the physics properties panel, just give it the type of collision. That is it. That would mostly do the job. Okay, just play it right, and yeah, now you can see it is just colliding it with it and just creating a good mesh, a good falling cloth falling simulation. Just going to give it shade smooth so that it looks smooth and it looks good. Okay, let's get back again, play, boom, wow, that looks really really great. Okay, to make it fall in some other in some interesting way, you're just going to rotate it a little bit. Okay, in X, let's say we're just going to rotate it a little bit so that it falls and it creates some interesting shapes on this collision object. Okay, just play it again, boom. Wow, that looks really, really amazing, right? That really looks very amazing. Now, there are a few things, of course, settings which we can work with. Okay, so first of all, the quality of steps 5 is more than enough. You can increase it or decrease it depending on the quality of simulation you want for the cloth. Then we have the speed multiplier. For realistic simulations, 1 is more than enough. You can of course decrease the mass. If the vertex mass is decreased, then it would have some different effects. The overall weight of the cloth will decrease. So now you can see, as soon as I have decreased the mass, the overall weight of the cloth is decreasing. It is just falling down like paper weighted cloth. Okay, so that is what uh, vertex mass is for. Then air viscosity, bending model, angular, linear, there is no need to worry about that. Tension we can increase and decrease, and let's see what kind of difference does it give. Okay, so every different kind of thing will have different properties. Let's just add a plane here because it's not working that great and we want something to good to work with. Okay, let's just go to the first frame and play it again, boom. Okay, so it is just falling straight. Now what we're going to do is we are just going to rotate it even further, almost like that, and let's just play it and let's see what happens this time. Okay, yeah, this is now really cool, right? This is what a real cloth sim should look like. Zoop, wow, that's really really great. Okay, one more thing that we can do to have some more interesting shapes for being formed, we can just rotate it in some other direction so that some different kind of effect will be formed, right? Let's go to the first frame and play it. This time it's not going to fall straight, and wow, this is really really amazing. Okay, so this is what we are seeing. We can just increase it to 0.3, vertex mass to 0.3, and just play it again. Yeah, it falls rapidly and the shapes that are being created are different than the previous one. Okay, so this is something that you need to experiment with actually. Let's just decrease the tension to 1. Let's see what happens, and boom, wow, that looks really amazing. It just in decreasing the tension in the um, cloth. Okay, we can have more shearing effect, let's say, and just make it fall again, and this time you can see the shearing, the twisting of the cubes is more. Okay, how much you can bend, you can just change everything that you want right here. For damping also there is different things. Now one thing that we need to be uh, looking at is under collisions properties. Here you have quality of 3, 2, you can increase the quality to just increase the kind of the quality of collisions that it is having. Right now the object collision is turned on, so this object, this plane, the ground plane is having the collision, so it is basically an object collision. Okay, but now there is some internal collision being going on, right? So the cloth is colliding with itself when it folds, and that is not being taken care of. Here you can see this kind of pattern can never be formed. Basically the geometry is overlapping, which is uh, not possible in real scenarios. So for that we need to just do one thing. Inside of collisions we just need to turn on the self collision, so it collides with itself. Now let's just play it again, and this time we will see that it is not colliding with itself and it is just forming the shapes. Okay, we can just shade it smooth, and now here you can see it is just forming the shapes within itself. Okay, that is really very important. I think we can increase the tension and just let's play it again. Okay, so basically you got the point. Basically I can just pause it somewhere like here. Let's say this is the kind of maybe the shape that I'm looking forward to, and wow, cool. Okay, so here I can just go ahead and give it a subdivision surface modifier to make it look even smoother, and now you can see it looks really very smooth and it really looks like a cloth. Okay, again we have seen the shading panel. You can go into the shading panel and give it a cloth like texture using the PBR materials that we've already discussed. If you don't know how to use PBR materials, there is a video in this channel on this channel in the playlist of Blender tutorial series for beginners. Just go through the all the videos, and there you will find one video, PBR texture and texturing and UV mapping. So just go through that and you will understand how to give it a texture. Just use a cloth like texture and that is it, you are good to go. So this is one point of uh, texturing, right? Texturing. Now there's one more thing that I want to tell you, and which is about the pressure which we haven't yet used. So you're just going to get a cube, and we're just going to scale it in z direction. We want a pillow like thing, pillow like covering. So pillow is basically a cube, but not that cube, it is just blown with air. So either you stuff in clothes or just blow air into it and it will just puff up, and that is what a pillow would look like. Okay, so just select the pillow, select the cube right here, the upper one, and go to the cloth settings. Give it a cloth setting. We don't want it to be here, we want it to be at the first. Okay, now here what we're going to do is, first of all, we don't want any gravity to be working on it because I don't want it to fall. I just want it to stay there. Okay, so inside of field weights, I think there is a property for gravity, so I'm just going to turn the gravity to 0. Okay, now there here we have the property for pressure in the physics panel. Okay, we are in the physics panel. Here there's a property of pressure. Just turn it on, and of course we need some subdivisions to work around with. Let's go to edit mode, subdivide it. How many times do we want? Yeah, here one problem that seems to occur is the number of subdivisions, that every subdivision is not equal. So here you can see that if I divide this face, the upper face, 4 times, then the cubes would be larger in size. But if I subdivide this one 4 times, then the cube would be of smaller size, and that is what we don't want. We want every cube to be of equal size. So what we're going to do is, we're just going to give some subdivisions right here, so that everything is turned on into a cube of almost equal lengths. So how many are there? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Okay, so the same thing we are going to do here also. 7. Okay, I cannot control it, I'm not using a mouse. So yeah, I think 1 2 3 4 5 6. We want one more, and 7. Come on, dude. No, it just decreased. 6 and 7. Good. Okay, so now everything is almost cubical. Now we can subdivide it to have equal amount of equal squaring effect. Okay, so let's say till 6 I go, because already we had some loop cuts going on. So this is what we have. Okay, now go to the starting and just give it some time to pressurize. Of course we have not given the pressuring effect, so we need to increase the pressure to, let's say, I don't know, 2, I don't know. Just let's play along with it and let's see how it works. So you can see the pressure. Wow, so the pressure of 2 is basically making it inwards. What you can do is we can just negate the pressure. Okay, and now you can see it is going outwards, and at frame number 9 it is really looking great. Okay, let's play it for a few more time. Yes, this is what a pillow should look like. So this is the fastest way of creating a pillow, and this is how we created a pillow using cloth simulation pressure. Okay, there are of course other things that you can look at. First of all, give it a shading smooth so that it looks better, and of course there is no internal pressure going on here. You can see these corners are not possible in that way, so just turn on the self collision. We know at frame number 5 it should frame number 14 or so, it should look great. We're just going to give it some time to render again and calculate the simulation again. And yeah, I'm happy with something like this. So this looks great. Okay, and now again I can go to subdivision surface modifier to give it some cleaner look. Okay, so this is how um, cloth simulation can be used to create fast pillows. Okay, so now there are some inside of pressure there are some other things that we can also look at. There's some factor. So basically factor is by what factor you want the pressure to be created. So if we just increase the factor, you can see it will have some different effect. It is uh, growing the size faster than expected. Okay, now again one more thing that needs to be taken care of is the stiffness. So because sharing, I don't want sharing, let's say very low sharing. Compression is okay. Let's say I want less tension, and I want less tension here also, and let's try to create it again and let's see what kind of results do we get this time. So now you can see that the results are different than before, and this is how you can use uh, these different things to get the different effects for the cube. Okay, so let's increase the tension, let's increase the compression. I'm just uh, trying out experimenting with different values to get better results. Okay, this looks great. I mean when it is low, yeah, this one looks great. Okay, then you can of course use the cloth sim that we have, the cloth brush that we have seen in blender 2.83 to give it some wrinkles and stuff like that, and it would just look amazing. Okay, so this is how to create cushions fast, and this is all about uh, what this is about the cloth simulation inside of blender. So in the next tutorial, as I've already discussed, the cloth simulation is of two parts. In the next tutorial we are going to make a flag wave in air. Okay, so till now we have just seen the internal functions or internal options of cloth simulation. We are now going to add some force fields to the cloth to give it some interesting animations. Okay, so see you in the next tutorial. Till then, keep smiling and keep learning.